What up, everybody? It's your boy D.K.L., host of the E.I.H.R podcast. Listen, are you trying to promote your brand? Whether it is your podcast, whether it's your jewelry, whether it's a music, whatever the case may possibly be. Listen, business cards are a thing of the past now. Okay? What you want to do is you want to go ahead and get yourself a pop-up. Okay? It's really, really simple. Give your market a more direct, instant connection to your brand. Simply tap and connect, just like that. Next time you're having a conversation with somebody, instead of them having to enter in your phone number and name, take your pop-up, you tap their phone, and your information is digitally transferred to their device. Whether it's your Instagram, your Facebook, your storefront, it doesn't matter. Listen, go to the E.I.H.R Instagram page, find the highlight, get the promo code, save when you purchase. Let's get it poppin'.
So, let's start with the E.I.T.H.R.
You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D.K.L.
And happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy D.K.L. here at E.I.H.R podcast at the GNS HQ here in Northern California. I hope everyone's doing well out there. The weather looks a little wet outside, so I hope everyone is being very, very cautious and careful and considerate. Not too many people know how to drive in rainy conditions. As we all know, a lot of accidents happen when it first starts raining. One thing that I've learned too, if it is raining wherever you are on the planet Earth, wait a couple of hours for the new rain to kind of get the slick oils and stuff like that out of the asphalt and the street. And whatever you do, just drive, I don't know, maybe 5 miles, 10 miles slower than you normally would on the residential areas. Just because not everyone acts right. Like I said, when the water's coming from the sky. Anyway, welcome to episode number 58 of the E.I.H.R podcast. Appreciate you guys spending your time here, wherever you may be on the planet Earth, whether it's in the United States, North America, South America, the hat of North America, Canada, whether you're in Tokyo, whether you're in India, Sweden, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere in between. Appreciate that. Appreciate you being here and spending time. So we're going to talk about a few things here, but for those of you who don't know and may be new to this, we'd like to start this thing off with, some inspirational, motivational type of stuff. And then we're going to also address some things that I feel would help everybody out with your mental wellness, if you will. But one thing I want to talk about, or give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to sorry, I thought I heard something in the office space. When it starts raining, things are flickering. You start kind of, getting a little nervous. So what I do want to give a shout out is to my people who are at E.I.T.H.R here in Northern California. For those who don't know, E.I.T.H.R is a DoorDash variation of like a convenience store. And those folks over there are going through some very unusual changes with management and associates, co-workers, so on and so forth. You know how it goes with the work politics, and they are no different. They are a casualty of it, and it's an unfortunate situation because a lot of the people, as some of you may know, the ones who bust their ass are the ones who get taken care of the least, unfortunately. And so it started to change a little bit, but a lot of them are holding on strong to their morals and their beliefs and all that other fun stuff, and trying to keep themselves on a positive note. So listen, on behalf of those people at Dashmart, on behalf of anybody who's doing gig services, whether it's delivering food, whether it's delivering orders you've made from Amazon, UPS, whatever the case may possibly be. Listen, whatever you got to do, man, just be considerate to those people. Because again, these motherfuckers are bringing something that you ordered to your front door, where you ain't got to deal with the weather, you ain't got to deal with the traffic, you ain't got to deal with the monotony that's outside. Try to be a little considerate, even though you may be having possibly a bad day. These people are doing a service for you. Yes, they're compensated, but as you all may know, the compensation may not be worth the time that they're doing. So some people are legitimately doing this just because they know it's a convenience for you, for them to bring it to you. When you walk into a Dashmart, or any type of restaurant for that matter, be considerate of the people, because you know what? They probably had some screaming toddler at the top of their fucking lungs who wants a dessert and can't have the dessert until they eat their vegetables. Or they just had to deal with a situation where a couple saw each other cheating on one another in the restaurant, and now these people are fighting because who was more wrong for the cheating, for the adultery. Or they got a situation where one of their co-workers called in sick, and it happens to be busy because of the weather condition. Whoever you're dealing with in the food and the service industry, just have some consideration, especially retail, right? I remember when I worked retail, some of you motherfuckers don't like putting clothes back where you found them. And when you put them back, you don't even attempt to fold them. Just help you people out. Just help you people out in retail. Just be considerate. Be considerate on the road to one another. Use your blinker. I hate people who merge over, don't use their blinkers, and they get mad at me because they almost hit my car. It's raining, for Christ's sakes, okay? Weird. A day and a half from the new year. Let's make sure everybody sees it. We want to see the ball drop. We want to wake up January 1st. We want to put this shit as year behind us. That's what we're trying to do. Anyone who's on social media, you're more than welcome to follow us at Twitter, and Instagram's the same handle. The E.I.T.H.R, T-H-E, E.I.T.H.R. YouTube, you can follow us at the parent company, the GNS Inc. Just search for T-H-E, GNS, INC. Subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. Once we get back from this break, we're going to start getting into some of the things that's been on my mind. You guys stay tuned.
Most t-shirts are simply cool to look at or look in. Well, so are ours. But ours also aim to send a message. They aim to put a name on obstacles that once stood in your way and aren't there anymore. Struggles that you turned into successes and crushed. You made it look easy. Shop at mile.today. Mile.today. www.mile.today. A GNS collection.
Yo, what up, folks? This is Rodney Farrell, the CEO of Farrell Development Group, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, hosted by B-Cal. Let's get it.
Thank you guys very much for holding on. We got back. We just did the intro for inspirational, motivational, and gave our shots out. Talked about the social media page and Instagram and Twitter and the YouTube page, so on and so forth. And now we're going to get into the thick of what I want to talk about in the podcast. But before we get into the topics that I put in the heading, I want to ask this question. I put this on the social media. What is too young for a child to have a cell phone or cellular device? Is there a certain age do you believe that a child should be this old before they get the cell phone? Do you believe they should not be this young to get the cell phone? What's your opinion? I see a lot of kids out there with cell phones, and I have some friends who have kids with cell phones, and it's a different world because of technology than it was obviously when we grew up like in the 80s and 90s, so on and so forth, right? If the cell phone's purpose is for the kid to be able to contact the parent, so on and so forth, it's a prepaid phone, doable. Do you add a phone to your account? Do these phones have a shit ton of restrictions to them? How do you monitor? What say you is the best way to go about doing that? For me, I believe a child maybe 10 to 12 can have a cell phone. But in certain instances, in my opinion, I feel that the child should have it around weekends if they're going out with their friend, like if they're going with another relative, like uncle, aunt, cousin, grandparent, if they're spending the night at a friend's house, those type of things, I feel is perfectly fine. When it comes down to it, in my opinion, it really depends on the maturity of the kid. If you believe your child is mature enough and your child has shown you that they're mature enough, I feel you can lean towards the 10-year-old range for them to have the cell phone, because it's all about building trust. I also believe in situations like that, talk to the child, explain to your daughter, explain to your son, listen, I know what the cell phone is, I know what this cell phone means to you, but I need to explain something on how cell phones work, and I'm not just talking about turning on and playing a game. I'm not just talking about getting Robux so you can order your Roblox. I'm not talking about that. And explain to them how spam calls work. Explain to them how ads work. Explain to them how all these different annoyances that happens to us, they're kids. They're going to be curious, right? Just by nature. So if something pops up on their phone, they may click on it because it looks cool, because it looks interesting, it looks new. And you don't know what information is being given. So I think it all depends on the maturity of the child. That's my take on it. You guys are more than welcome to, hit the social media, give me your feedback on that, and at what age you think it is. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Next thing I want to talk about, the term woke. This is one of those phrases where it meant something in the beginning and then it completely got fucking rearranged as time went on. I'm gonna use a sports analogy just to set this up, right? There are certain people who watch certain teams, certain sports, soccer, for example. Or you might have a actor or an actress or a band or a singer or a group that you're a huge fan of, right? You knew them when they were underground. You knew them when they were opening acts. You knew them when they were barely on the radio. And when you first heard them on the radio, you were excited for them. Fast forward, they have a hit feature. They have a hit song that hits the radio and it gets lots of streams, lots of plays, lots of rotation. They become this big, massive celebrity, this big, massive star in this galaxy of entertainment. Everyone becomes this big fan of them, right? My homegirl, JJ Wilson out in Florida, she was a real big fan of Childish Gambino. And she was such a big fan of him that when he became this big success, especially when he started getting into movies, everyone started obsessing how big of a fan they were of him. And I don't remember what conversation it was, but she said his government name to somebody. And the same person who said that they were a big fan of him was like, who's that? And she's like, wow, you don't even know his real name, but you're a big fan. And I can understand that, because when you have conversations with people and you start asking certain questions that diehards know, and they don't know these questions, but they're such big fans, it ruins their argument, because it comes to prove that they're not as big of a fan as they claim they were, because they only know the information that's being told to them by talking heads, radio, and commercials. That's the information that they only know, right? So moving forward, to kind of set that up, is the term woke, W.O.K.E. Originally, when the phrase was used, maybe 20 some odd years ago, from my memory, the meaning was basically for you to read between the lines. It was meant for you to cut through the trees, see all the bullshit. Right? Bullshit. When someone's giving you a horrible excuse, or they're telling you a really bad story, woke was listen to what they're not telling you. What are they deliberately leaving out? Right? What is it that they're omitting from what they're saying? That's what woke was. When you know, if you have a homegirl and she's dating somebody, the phrase, all right, girl, stay woke, pay attention, listen to what he's not saying, watch what he's not doing. Skip what he's doing in front of you. That's the obvious. You can see that shit. But what is he not? Where is he not taking you? Why is he not bringing you home? Why is he not calling you at this certain time of night? Why doesn't he give you certain responses when you say certain phrases to him? Why is he not giving you any PDA? Like, girl, stay woke. Pay attention. That was the phrase. That was the meaning of it. Once mainstream media got a hold of the phrase, they legitimately started putting woke in every third or fourth sentence. And here's what happens, in my opinion. Whenever there's an urban phrase or an urban word or urban slang that's catchy, and I'm doing air quotes, and could be profitable, that's when they'll saturate the hell out of that word. You'll hear it everywhere. And what that does, instead of, no pun intended, waking people up to what's going on around them, you now have folks rebelling against what it's trying to say. They're now turning it off. They're now going to ignore it. They're now not paying any attention to it. You see what I'm saying? So now you're getting this constant resistance from what was supposed to be enlightening. Now motherfuckers are actually going against it. Now they're legitimately fighting the power of what was meant to actually help what they're doing. Okay? So when I hear phrases in films and commercials and all these things, and people online talk about woke, it's almost like a mockery, because they don't even care if they're using it right or wrong. They just hate the word. Why? Because it's been used in such an ill manner they can't get that stigma out of their head about it, right? What are some other phrases and words that you guys have heard that meant one thing, that meant something positive, that meant something encouraging, that, that now when you hear it, it takes on a completely different definition? Woke was one of them. I know there was woke, the term thick. Growing up in the 90s, thick had a completely different meaning behind it. Thick was a completely different definition to it. Now when you hear the term thick, Jesus, it has a a wide range of what it could mean. So what other phrases have you heard that meant one thing and now has been turned around and it's just like, wow. I remember in the 80s, bad was another one, right? Not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. So what are some other phrases that you heard that when people say it, it literally is, that's not what it means. And it kind of irks you. Share it on social media. Instagram, Twitter, so on and so forth. The other thing I want to talk about is one quick second. I have my notes just right here. Yeah, you guys can listen to the music. Here we go. The definition of hustling. All right, so I have been educated about 10, 12 years ago that the term hustle means to move with a purpose. I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, the term hustle had a negative connotation to it. It had a negative meaning. It was usually associated with people who were doing stuff illegally, right? Selling drugs. I remember growing up in West Oakland on Chestnut Street, downstairs from the two-story duplex that we had. As soon as you go downstairs, you make a right turn. There was a church, literally right next door. It was a church. The building's still there. It's not active anymore. I think God left it. But you had people selling drugs in front of the church during service. And I remember people walking out of the church around drug dealers and around drug dealing transactions that were going on. As a kid, I was kind of like, man, you gonna sell dope in front of Jesus? Like, that's crazy. But the definition of hustle is to move with a purpose, right? Everything's a hustle. Everything's a hustle. If you at your job and you're trying to get as much work as you possibly can banged out before you clock out, you're hustling. Mailmen, mailwomen, when you're delivering packages, as soon as you get out that truck and you start going through and you're putting everything in the mailboxes or taking it to the post office, you're hustling. You're moving with a purpose. You have a goal, you have a job, and you're trying to accomplish that job as fast and effectively as possible. That's the definition of hustle. I want to give a shout out to my entrepreneurs real quick when you talk about hustling. You can't expect an idea to turn into a business and not expect some type of ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys. You can't expect that. Realistically, you can't expect that. Now, a lot of people do expect that. And the problem with that is when they hit that peak, they think this is how it's supposed to be. And it only goes up. And when they hit that valley, then all of a sudden, it's time to give up. It's time to stop because, it just wasn't meant to be. And I feel a lot of folks do not understand the grasp of what it's like to hustle, like genuinely to hustle. There was a post that I put on social media. And I'm going to read this to you guys real quick. It says this: if you ain't ready to put in 5 years of grind time without making a quarter, don't even start. And apparently that's a quote from Ice Cube. I think a lot of people have this mindset because they see movies. And I know I've said this in past episodes before. They see films, and in a 2-hour film, 7 minutes is of them grinding and hustling. And at the end, they have this one big downfall, and they have this epiphany, this aha moment, and that aha moment takes them to the finish line for the rest of the film. The concept of time is lost in that 2-hour movie. What we don't understand in that 7 minutes, that 7 minutes may represent 3 years of time. But because it's a film, they have to kind of push forward and move things along at a certain pace, so you think shit's just sweet all the time, right? And it isn't. And there's a lot of people who go through days of struggle and they give up. You have to understand that it may take you 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before you even see any results. Hell, man, there's people who've been at it for 10 years before you see any result. I remember watching a documentary with E.I.T.H.R, the Superman from Compton. If anyone understands bodybuilding and powerlifting or overtraining or anything of that nature, you are very aware of E.I.T.H.R. E.I.T.H.R talked about how he became famous via YouTube videos. And he said all it took was 35 years for my overnight success. And I think people miss that part. It took him 35 years to gain overnight success. The moral of the story is, you can become a celebrity overnight. It just takes years of work the night before. And a lot of people don't grasp that concept. So if you're going to get into something, you have to understand time is a combination of discipline and consistency. And it's not always going to flow on your watch. That's another thing a lot of people don't understand, nor do they choose to accept that shit. It's not always going to happen on the day you mark on your calendar, right? Somebody once told me, give yourself a year, and if it doesn't work in a year, well, then it wasn't meant to be. And I remember telling this particular person, well, what if it took 13 months? And I stopped 1 month ahead of before it was supposed to take off. Right? Everybody's in different vehicles to get to the same destination. Understand? Like every car, different gas mileage. Every car, different horsepower. Every car has different torque. Every car is a different size engine. But yet they're all vehicles. 4-bangers, 6-cylinders, V8s, V12s. There's a range of engines. There's a certain type of fuel you have to give that car in order for it to perform at peak value. There's a certain type of street mileage versus highway mileage, right? Each vehicle is different from the next, yet they're all the same thing. Your opportunity is no different. Understanding your hustle is no different. Listen, some people have 20 hours in a day to hustle. Some people only have 6. Some people only have 4. Out of 7 days a week, some people only have 1 to 2. I've told people this in the past. Compete, but never compare. You can compete with your buddies, you can compete with your friends, friendly competition, of course, but never compare, because someone might be dating somebody and that person is willing to be his or her partner as well as their partner. Someone might be living in a neighborhood that's all about entrepreneurship. Someone might be living in a neighborhood that's very dangerous, and it's hard for them to get out in transportation to work and resources. Someone might be living homelessly. Somebody may be living in a roof where it is very discouraging for them because they're not bringing in any instant pay versus long-term compound interest. Someone may be in an environment that knows nothing about business and everything is just work, work, work. Some people may be living in an environment to where they're just like, I just want to make enough money to where I can get dinner, right? So compete by doing the best you can do, right? If my person that I'm competing with, if the best that they can do is, I don't know, 3 sales that day, fuck it. I guarantee you I'll reach my number before you hit 3. That's the competition. I don't care if my number was 5. I don't care if my number was 10. I guarantee you I hit my number before you do. And if you hit your number first, I'll pay lunch. If I hit my number first, you pay lunch. Everything's got to be accordingly, right? When it comes to hustling, I know I've said this in previous episodes before as well. A collaboration works amazingly. That's one of my things I love to do. I love to work with other entrepreneurs and other people like-minded to achieve a goal. I was talking to Truth Be Told last night on the phone, and I was explaining to him, I said, listen, man, I grew up in an era where people, even though they were out there trying to eat for themselves, they helped one another, right? If an artist landed a gig to where they could perform, they would ask, hey, I got a partner who does this, or I got a homegirl who sings that. Could I put them on too? You know, and they were like, yeah, sure, bring them. I mean, I ain't gonna give you no more money, but yeah, sure, you know, it's cool. Pay them out of your cut, you know, but as an example, or whatever, or, you know, I can't give you no money because, you know, this is my bread, but here's your opportunity to rock the house. You feel me? I remember also in the 90s, this was huge in the 90s, where if you were a musician and you had your music video, and somewhere in your music video, one of the well-known big-time other musicians that people were a fan of happened to be in your music video, that was a cosign for, oh shit, this person is legit, right? New York rappers did this all the time. You can have this new New York rapper who's up and coming, and somewhere in the video while he's rapping, you'll get a glimpse of like 2 or 3 members from the Wu-Tang Clan standing next to him, bobbing to the beat. You'll get, you know, a video scene where you'll see someone like a Tribe Called Quest. You'll see Busta Rhymes. You saw all these artists that were from that area, from that region, in their music video. Queen Latifah will be doing a rap video. Next thing you know, you saw Kid and Play. When Cypress Hill did a music video, no one really heard of Cypress Hill at that point in time. But in their music video, guess who's in it? Ice Cube was in it. That day, those times, that meant something. That meant, oh, he's rocking with you? Okay, you guys must be legit. So my mindset is, work with one another. I don't give a fuck if you're doing jewelry and this person's over here doing paintings. That's fine, because guess what you can do? The person who's doing the painting can do a painting of someone wearing your jewelry. Do you see what I'm saying? If you are a teacher and one of your homegirls, one of your homeboys has a kid who is a popular kid in school that the other students go to, you could have that, you know, with parental consent, of course, you can have that parent have their kid come to your class and be your teacher's aide. Now the kids are, oh, you got so-and-so? It's like, yeah, I know his mom. And so-and-so is going to listen to you because, you know, you're like an uncle, you're like an aunt to them. These kids are going to be like so-and-so. They're impressed with so-and-so. They're smitten by so-and-so. So when this kid says to do what you, the teacher, says to do, they're going to follow because their hero likes you. Now it's like, okay, we better pay attention. You got that seal of approval, if you will. So hustle is to move with a purpose. Bring it all right back to that, right? You have to move with a purpose. Collaborating with people is moving with a purpose. Try to find motherfuckers who have a common future versus dealing with people who have a common past. Hustle forward or stay behind. Choice is yours. But there's two types of pain you have to understand, man. There's a pain of success and there's a pain of regret. Guess which pain hurts more? Guess which pain lasts longer? It's crazy. And if you want to be a true hustler, hustle with motherfuckers who are better than you. Hustle with motherfuckers who are smarter than you. Because that's going to bring out the better in you. If you got to be the smartest one in the room, you need stupid people feeling superior. Which means you can't handle those who are better than you. And then you'll never learn how to improve. Listen, thank you for your time on the podcast. You guys have an awesome weekend. Remember to social media, Instagram, Twitter, the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R, YouTube page, the GNS Inc. Subscribe, much appreciated. We will be back Monday. Let's go ahead and be corny and I'll just talk to you motherfuckers next year. Stupid. I'll see myself out. You guys be good, man. Peace. Happy New Year.
Hey, this your girl Key, and I'm calling from Compton, and you listening to E.I.T.H.R podcast with D-Cal.
You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with your host, D-Cal.